2022 was another wild year here at Queen's Park. It had everything from renewed unprecedented COVID closures to a big election.
We face a tsunami of new cases in the days and weeks ahead.
The year started with another COVID shutdown. Faced with surging cases brought on by what was then a new variant, Omicron, Premier Ford held a news conference on January 3rd to announce the closure of gyms and restaurants and to say that students would have to head back to virtual school for 2 weeks.
Virtually everyone in this province will know someone who has been exposed to this virus.
The restrictions began to ease on January 31st, but just as that was happening, the trucker protest was starting to take over Ontario's second largest city. Thousands descended on Ottawa for what was dubbed the Freedom Convoy. Ford was under pressure to act.
The province hears the protesters, the country hears the protesters. Now it's time to let the people in Ottawa get back to their lives.
It wasn't until February 11th that Ford said Ontario was declaring a state of emergency to end what he called a, quote, siege in Ottawa and on the Windsor-Detroit border.
Your right to make a political statement does not outweigh the rights of 1 million people in Ottawa to live peacefully, free of harassment.
As the calendar flipped to spring, the government and opposition parties moved into election mode in advance of the June 2nd vote. Ford, vying for a second mandate to lead Ontario, rolled out a campaign centered around a wedge issue, the promise to build Highway 413. He also promised more hospital construction. It worked. The Progressive Conservatives, led by Ford, were re-elected to a second majority government, winning 7 more seats than they had won in the 2018 election.
Well, thank you, everyone. What a night and what a result!
The NDP retained their status as the official opposition despite losing seats and finishing 3rd in popular vote. Leader Andrea Horwath resigned on election night.
But tonight, it's time for me to pass the torch, to pass the baton.
So did Liberal leader Del Duca. He too resigned on election night. Both won mayoral races in November. Del Duca, the new mayor of Vaughan; Horwath, the new mayor of Hamilton. Now, despite Ford's resounding victory in the election, he was under a lot of pressure after the vote. During a rare summer sitting of the legislature, the premier revealed so-called strong mayor powers that he bestowed on the mayors of Toronto and Ottawa, something he didn't mention during the election.
I just think it's the right thing to do, since all the responsibility falls on the mayor.
November brought major labor unrest at Queen's Park. CUPE, representing educational support staff, staged a 2-day walkout that closed schools after talks with the government crumbled. The government passed a bill that imposed a contract on the union and using the notwithstanding clause. It caused major outrage. The NDP staged a protest of their own at Queen's Park, members getting thrown out of the legislature one by one.
I'm telling the truth. They're lying.
Mr. Tabbins, you are named. You must leave the chamber.
A measure of calm was restored when the government rescinded that bill. A big issue the government is still facing, though, is the hospital crunch. Overcrowded ERs, that's certainly going to be a major issue as we move into 2023, Premier Ford's 5th year of reign here at Queen's Park. Richard Southern, City News.